This is the video directions on how to make the altitude tracker. This is a project for the Princeton Community Middle School robotics class. You're going to need the altitude tracker sheet. I'm giving you 3 sheets in case you make mistakes. You only need to make one altitude tracker. You'll need a glue stick of some type, a toothpick, thread, pair of scissors, a craft stick that already has a hole in it, a larger craft stick, and some type of straight edge. So the materials I'm providing for you here, you'll need your own glue stick, your own scissors, and if you have a ruler straight edge, that would be great, but you could also probably use the craft stick for that purpose. We'll start out by looking at the directions that are on the sheet itself. It says disconnect this page from the packet. It'll be stapled into the packet, so take it out. Write your name on the line provided and cut out instructions. So as I usually do, I use the name J. Doe, John Doe, as the example name, and then it says cut out these instructions. So you don't have to be especially neat about it. You just want to get these cut out so that you can refer to them throughout the process of making the altitude tracker. Step 2 says, fold the paper along the 2 dashed lines, then unfold the paper so it's flat again. So we have, this is called a dashed line, this is another dashed line, and we want to fold exactly on those lines. So as I demonstrated in class, it's best if you do this on like some type of pad of paper. This is about 7 or 8 sheets of paper. It's best if you work with an ink pen and a straight edge to do this. This process is called scoring the paper. We want it to fold exactly on the dashed line. You could do it without scoring the paper, but it works better if you do what I'm showing you. So we've got the ruler right along the edge of the dashed line, far enough away so that the ink pen is going to go right on the dash. I'm going to push down hard, go all the way across, and on the back I should be able to feel with my finger where I made that score mark. There's 2 dashed lines, so we're going to do the same thing to the other one. Now, if you can't feel it, you can put it back down and do that step again. If you do it too hard, though, you're going to go right through the paper. Okay, so we're done scoring the paper. Now we're going to fold it over. And it was easy to fold, and I got it folded exactly on the dashed line. It says fold it over and then straighten it back out. So that's one of the folds. This is the other fold. I'm going to make it tight and then straighten it back out. Step 3, use scissors to cut along the solid outline of the altitude tracker. Don't cut the dashed lines or lines inside the outline. So all the way around the outer edge, I've got cut on this line. So where it says cut on this line, that part's actually going to be cut off because I want to cut exactly on the line. Take your time doing this. Be neat about it. If you make a mistake, go ahead and continue on the one you made a mistake on, and then you can start back over on another sheet. You'll have 3 chances. Also, if it messes up more than 3 times, you can also download this sheet from Google Classroom. It'll be in PDF format, so you should be able to download it and print it out yourself. And this is just regular paper. It's called 20-pound bond paper. It's like Xerox paper. As always, when I'm demonstrating, I try to go kind of fast so I don't do as good a job as you can do it, because you're going to have plenty of time to work on this. So we're almost done cutting out the outline. Okay, step 4. It says apply glue stick glue to the back of the square on the right, then fold it over so it sticks to the back of the area that says altitude tracker. So this is the square on the right. Those instructions are also on the square. It says this is the square in step 4 that you put glue stick glue on and then fold over till it sticks to the back of the altitude tracker. So we're going to use glue stick glue, and you need to do this kind of quickly because the glue stick glue, as I've noticed, it starts drying out fairly quick. So we've covered this whole side with glue stick glue, and now we're going to fold it over. It'll fold on that crease that you made earlier and push it down tight. Now, glue stick glue has water in it, so it might make the paper uneven. So you might have to push it down for a while, a couple minutes, to get it to come out flat. Step 5 says apply glue to the back of the rectangle on the left, then fold it over so it sticks to the back of the front. It will overlap the part you glued in the previous step. This says, in step 5, you should put glue stick glue on the back of this rectangle, then fold it over to the back of the tractor, which is what it just described in step 5. So we've already got our fold here. We just need to put glue in this rectangular area. And as it said, it's going to overlap a sum of what we just got finished gluing. Okay, the fold's already on here. The crease is on here. So now when I fold it over, it's going to go like this. And it overlapped this part of the square that we glued previously, this part right here. This is the back of our project. So this writing that's on the back is not going to show. This is what the front looks like. That was step 5. Step 6 says use a round toothpick or another sharp object to make a small hole in the little square located above the Viking. Now before we cut it out, there was an arrow pointing to this little square. So it's this square that we need to make a hole in. You could try using the toothpick. In my case, I've got a push pin that's a little bit sharper. Or you could probably use a large needle, something to get it started. And be careful when you do this because you don't want to poke into your finger. So we're going right into the middle of the square. Also, this paper is still wet from the glue. So I got a hole started with a push pin. Now I'm going to push the toothpick into the hole. That way the hole's the right diameter. It went all the way through. Okay, so it looks like this. Step 7, line up the hole you made in the previous step with the hole in the small craft stick. Glue the craft stick along the back of the tractor. Okay, this is a craft stick. It's got a hole in it. We want this hole to be lined up with this hole, and it says use the toothpick to do that. So we put it through the hole in the altitude tracker and the hole in the craft stick, and they line up like this. Before we do it for the final time, we want to put glue. And probably the best thing to do is put the glue on the craft stick instead of on the paper this time. Okay, so we want it lined up, and it's going to be even across the top. And since the glue is on thicker here, it's going to take a little bit longer to dry. Okay, at this point we can take the toothpick out because it's lined up. And that was step 7. Step 8 says glue the larger craft stick to the back left side of the tracker. It should touch the small craft stick. The larger craft stick looks like this. We want to put it on the back side. It says that it should come up here and touch this craft stick. And once again, it's probably going to be best to put the glue on the craft stick and then stick it to the paper. Hopefully you've got a good glue stick for this because it's going to take up about 1/4 of an inch of glue you're going to use up on this project. Okay, we're going to bring it up till it touches this craft stick and then bring it down the side so it's even along the edge of the paper, and then we'll push it down. Now the paper is sticking out a little bit more than the craft stick, so we can take a pair of scissors. It's already shows that it's supposed to be rounded. We're going to go ahead and cut right along the edge of the craft stick so it's even at this end. Okay, also you'll notice there's a little bit of a curve right here. Now that things are glued together, we'll go ahead and cut that little curve. Okay, this is still drying, so it's kind of bunched up here a little bit from the moisture. After it's dried pretty well, it should lay much flatter. Okay, now I'm going to try to get some black thread for you to use because for one, it's hard to see, and this thread's a little bit too thin. But for the next step, it says number 9, run a thread or string through the hole you made near the Viking head. Tie the string so it stays in the hole. The thread that I'm using is actually a little bit thinner than I'd like to have, so I'm going to try to get some before I put these materials together for you to use. So I've got the thread through the hole, and I'm going to tie a knot. Okay, there's one knot, and then we want to tie it again so it becomes a double knot. We'll cut off the extra thread, and then you should have a long piece of thread left. We want the thread to come out of the hole, and the knot should be right down at the hole. Now we want to keep the knot right there at the hole. So a couple things you can do. If you happen to have white glue, like the Elmer's glue that some students have at home, you could take and put a little drop there. I mean, very little drop. Okay, just barely a little drop. Or you could take your glue stick glue and the toothpick and get a little gob of glue on it and put it on the same spot and give it some time to dry before you put stress on it. That should keep it from coming untied and coming loose once that's dried. Okay, next step is we need to have a weight at the bottom of this. So for this project, we're just going to use a bolt, or not a bolt, but a nut, and we could use some other things too. If we had a washer or anything that would put a little bit of weight on it. So I didn't have this in the picture starting out, but that's a nut that you would use with a bolt. It's a piece of hardware. But it's an easy thing to work with that provides us a weight. Okay, we're going to put thread through it, and we want it to be tied on so the weight's hanging right about here between the edge of this protractor and the edge of the project. And this is going to be hard to do with this thin thread. It may be hard to do with the other thread also. In the instructions it says it should be about 3 inches. So from the hole up here to the weight should be about 3 inches. It doesn't have to be exact. If we check it with this ruler, we can see that here's 1, 2, 3 inches, and where I guessed turned out to be just about right. So I tied one knot. Once again, we're going to do a double knot, and then we're going to put a drop of glue on it. So once again, either the white glue or the glue stick glue. And that should keep it from coming untied. Okay, only thing left is to trim off the excess thread and give the glue time to dry. And then when you come back to school, you learn how to use it. But you can kind of get the idea here. When the thread's hanging on the 0 at that angle, we'd probably be pointing it straight at the rocket. As the rocket goes up, we'd be going like this, and the thread would be moving, and it's measuring the angle. We will use the angle to calculate the height then by using something called trigonometry. It's not as hard as it sounds though. When you get the altitude tracker to this point where you've got your name on it, you've got the weight and the thread, and it's all put together, you're pretty much finished with this. You can put it between the pages of a book or something to hold it flat till you bring it back to school. All right, that's all for this video. Thank you.